Hello everyone and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel video. This literally has me so excited because every time you play this game, like you never know what to expect from your opponent. And I feel like this battle, it definitely has you on edge. Like I don't wanna give anything away, but like it's pretty good. But yeah, let's hit the intro first.
Once again, the world is in need of heroes.
I don't get paid enough for this. Actually, I don't think I get paid at all. Someone cue the real intro. Alright, now let's dive right in here. So, again, I'm using the, if you watched the last video, I'm using the same deck as then, and, I think, at this point, I know a little more, because I recorded this right after that last one, so I was still, a little caught off guard. But like, I think I understand a bit more of what my deck needed to do, what cards played well together. And so, as I start this turn, I was going like, okay, I think I definitely didn't have enough monster cards along with polymerization last time, but like, this time I had a pretty good balance between monster cards and like spells and traps and whatnot. So I was like, alright, I can do this. I just need to take my time and really understand like what I need to play the cards that I want. And I can't just, throw things out there just because I have them to be thrown out there. So in this time around in this battle, I am definitely a little more cautious after losing that last one, but what really threw me for like a loop and kind of terrified me is I noticed that my opponent is also using a hero deck, and at first I was like, okay, yeah, sure, like whatever, but then it started to click in my brain and I realized that like I've been playing this deck and I'm like, I don't really know what everything does. So how does it look playing against someone who knows what they're doing? And I think right when he summoned this card here, I started to panic a bit because I was like, oh man, like this guy knows what he's doing, and I'm gonna learn a lot from it, but I don't know if I can beat him because it's it's experience versus a noob. So you can imagine how terrified I was when I saw him flip that first card. But all in all, like, yeah, I was pretty like terrified, but I felt like I had definitely got a better understanding of what I needed to do. That didn't necessarily mean that I would, get all the cards that I needed to, or that things would line up properly, but like, I was just more ready to kind of roll with the punches and be like, okay, this happened. Let me think about what cards I do have to prevent, like, maybe getting destroyed by spells or traps or monster effects. So I was still trying to figure out how to like which monsters I should put out just to, kind of stall for time defensively, or if I should, like just not put anything out and hold them in my hand in case I got a polymerization, because with polymerization you need at least, if I'm remembering correctly, you need at least one card out on the field, and then the other one can be from your hand. And that was like my biggest thing. I'm like, okay, do I send something out now? Do I save it for later? But in the last battle that I had using this deck, I also didn't get this certain monster that's on the field now. I'll shoot that card up on the screen so that you guys can see it. But it's very handy for getting the polymerization card into your hand on like a consistent basis so that you can keep on summoning the fusion summoned heroes, which is what I was lacking in that other fight. And if you haven't seen the last video, I would definitely recommend going and watching that before you watch this one. Not just for the views, but it'll make this fight make a lot more sense. So something else that I also realized is while I did have fusion heroes that I could summon, I didn't necessarily balance out what heroes were in my deck and what heroes I could fusion summon. So even though I could get monsters out onto the field, they weren't always exactly the best for, you know, a team's heavy hitter. Because generally, when you have a heavy hitter, you want it to be something that, at least for me personally, I think it needs to hit either above 3,000 as a base damage, or it needs some effect that can get rid of your opponent's heavy hitter. In this deck, while I did have that capability in a more roundabout way, it was really difficult to actually like reach that point. However, you don't always need that in a duel with Yu-Gi-Oh, which again is another fantastic thing about the game, is that you could win a fight with, you know, I've actually seen battles where people have won the fight without even attacking. Like, the whole deck is just to make your opponent discard cards, and that's how they won. It was really crazy, but the fact that, you know, there are so many different options for winning a duel. I've seen one where the opponent couldn't get past the other guy's defense, and because he didn't have anything strong enough to get past it, he just gave up. He didn't have any card that could get rid of it. And so while the guy who had this really high defense monster couldn't really, like, you know, attack, he also couldn't get hurt. And I was like, that's kind of crazy. Granted, it's not the best idea, but, you know, it worked for his situation. It put the game in a stalemate, essentially. But, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but I really hate the card Mirror Force. It is, I really should make a deck that's specific for not being able to be targeted by spells and traps, because I think that's my biggest issue at the moment, is cards that just, you know, they destroy. Especially because in this battle, after I got those two monsters on the field, I was feeling pretty confident, and so I just swung without thinking, and that was a big mistake. Like, definitely in a game like this, just, you know, going full out, like swinging at your opponent, doesn't always work. Especially, like, I should have thought about it more, seeing that he had two trap cards, or two cards in his spell trap zone. Face downs, that's what they're called. He had two face down cards. That's something that should be mindful of on like a regular, because you just never know. And I kind of thought, oh, you know, we're running generally the same deck, So like he should have roughly the same cards that I do, which in this case he did. But it's still very different. Like again, like I can't. I feel like I keep talking about this, how like you can have the same deck but still be so entirely different, and I can't stress like how much I love that about this game. You can go head to head with basically the same cards, same strategy almost, but it could be like 2 or 3 cards that make a world of difference, and it's great. But at this point, I only have one face down monster on my field, and he's got 2 tribute summon or fusion summon monsters, and then just 1 regular one. I figured that because I have no cards in my hand and there wasn't like a whole lot that I could do, that the entire game depended on this next card that I drew, which is, you know, it can be the case more often than you would think, especially when you have cards that allow you to place more than 1 monster down in a turn. You just run out of resources. So I think something to kind of, I guess, gleam every time I go into battle with different opponents is, well, you know, always overlooking like your strategy and like which cards are really necessary and which ones aren't. But the biggest thing for me is like, did I jump the gun on anything? Like, was there something where if I had waited, would it have made a difference to play, you know, maybe this monster card on this turn, or maybe saving this trap in my hand until my next turn? Things like that are really important because, you know, once you put a card down, like, that's pretty much it. And so, like, I activated this effect for Skyscraper, and that was a mistake. Because while I did destroy his monster, I think I should have waited for a chance to get multiple monsters out and have gotten rid of more cards on his field. Because the more he doesn't have to use, the better for me. However, it might have been the better call, because in getting rid of that monster, I was, you know, I also was able to live until the next turn. So like I eliminated the threat of extra damage, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that was the best option. But at this point, I was kind of thinking, okay, I read the Skyscraper card, so every time I battle, I get plus 1,000. So I should be good. But I misread the card. I believe it only kicks in if I initiate the battle. I'll editing me put Skyscraper up on the screen again so that we can read its effects. Alright, so the rest of the game comes down to this last card. If I can pull this off just right, I might be able to make a comeback. I start to get my cards in play. I'm understanding how Skyscraper works, and I'm like, alright, I think I can do this. I think I got this. And I made the unfortunate choice of ending my turn. I was afraid that I didn't understand how Skyscraper worked, so I just completely let it go. I was like, oh, there's a chance like that this won't just kick in. let me just not use it at all. At a point like this in a duel, like I hadn't given up just yet, but I think I should have just swung at him just to see like what the card did, like how it kicked in, its effects and everything, because you know the saying, nothing ventured, nothing gained. That's basically how Yu-Gi-Oh works. If you don't know how a card reacts, then you have to, you have to venture out there and figure out like what effects activate it. Because once you figure that out, that puts you like steps above your opponent. Not leaps and bounds or anything, because maybe they read it once and they already understand it. But with enough steps, you cover the distance of those leaps and bounds. And it just happens that this time around I was not able to cover that distance. I hope you guys enjoyed the video today. Yeah, it's another loss in the books, but we're still making improvements and we're getting better at the game. I'll catch you guys next time. Possibly with a new deck.